All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to Money Monday on the 20th of September, 2021. Coming to you hot with a big old red day on the entire market. SPY down 1.67% on the day, which is pretty nice considering how far we did actually trend during market hours. We actually closed like $1 from the open price, which is interesting to see too. Pretty hard gap down on the day, of course. Last Friday, we broke this little bottom of this channel, of this insane uptrend that we've been in for a long time, just around the market as well too, and all the other fangs and Qs. Q pretty hard down day today, like Facebook, same thing, Google, all the big name movers. Tesla, pretty nice, not so hard of a down day, but still down day. What else am I missing? Microsoft, Mr. Softy, a little hard down day. I do Netflix. Yeah, just all around the market, trending pretty hard on the downside. Bitcoin as well too, at like 56, or no, not 56, 43. Pulled back pretty hard on all major cryptos as well too. VIX on the rise in regards to volatility. And I just point out here the same thing too that I've been seeing since this 2020 COVID crash. We haven't had that, at least on the VIX, we haven't had this continuation ever happen after the initial hard gap up or bigger bodied volatility move to the upside. Bigger volatility move to the upside in a sense. So each and every single one of these spikes, yeah, we get a spike here that holds for 2 more days, but then continues to come back down. Spike, hold a little bit, but come back, a little bit more of a spike. You get, kind of smaller candles that gaps up, but then just still continues to pull back, all of these candles. But of course, we could be looking at an entirely different trend here developing now on the entire market as well too. We've just been in this crazy uptrend, and I'm not here to try and actually trade that type of thesis, but it's just looking to identify and try and apply myself to the other trading as well too, because of course 3 out of 4 stocks follow the market, and understanding where we're at in the mentality of the normal trader and the normal society can certainly apply to how any and all stocks try to move or try to be manipulated as well too, adapting to those different circumstances as they rise. So even though it was a pretty hard down day, had some decent movers still running, some low floaters still taking that step up to the plate and slapping some shots across the bow. Nice dollar volume all around being put in as well too. NASDAQ $243 billion volume, NYSE $371 billion, and OTC is $2.5 billion. We are hour and a half after close of right now, so just pretty consistent as of right there for what dollar volume could be after the close of after hours. Kind of slung the gun around today on 3 different tickers. I hit 2 of the main big percentage movers, which I was coming into today very well prepared and kind of amped to do. Today was 100% such a better start of what I want to come to the market with mentally, of how I want to prepare myself and hold myself within the trade, within just myself even too. And I had a ton of other environmental distractions going as well too that I just had to laugh at. And I was totally involved in my own process and disregarding the distractions and keeping to my own lane. And totally awesome of eliminating not only those distractions, but the distractions that I put on myself too, whether it's social media or just any YouTube, all those different types of variables. That did very well of limiting that and focusing on what was important at hand. And I think a lot of different variables that are stepping alongside each other to continue to propel me forward as a better trader each and every single day. So that was a great check mark box there in that regard. And yes, I seen 3 of these stickers. I actually traded all 3 of them pre-market, and I'm thinking, God, I take these little paper cuts all the time, and I just screw myself over, trying to do these little 10 share, less than $100 position sizes, in and out, thinking that I'm doing well. Some of them I do actually get a nice move, and I kid myself a little bit thinking, oh, it's just protection of the FOMO, and because it's such a small position size, it fixes that need of that dopamine to try and be in the trade, but I don't have to take a huge position size immediately right there and then ride that emotional roller coaster wave of in the pre-market, especially too, of, oh, I'm up, I'm down, when it's not really a substantial trade to begin with at that point too. So I tried to verify that with data from my trader sync, and it's actually turned out that I have like a 50% win rate in total. And how many different factors go into that too. I don't think that's necessarily 100% correct of what I was looking for specifically as in regard to like just the super small scalpy pre-market trades too, but still positive on all of my pre-market trades so far, taking away my morning dump short setups as well too. That's only the longs that I do have a 50% win rate and that small little positive P&L. I think it'll be actually negative a little bit today after I put those trades in. But which surprised me a little bit to think too, because I would have thought that I would have taken far more paper cuts to add up to a little bit bigger of a loss, which then would have caused me to say, okay, I need to be let's just stop trading pre-market altogether and we focus hard on what market hours offers. But I'm also not discouraged from doing that now too, to see, okay, yes, I do take some paper cuts sometimes, but I also do manage my risk well. And I hold myself accountable to, hey, if it's going to fall off hard, and just P&L size overall too. I think I do a great job of, hey, looking for the maximized profits, of protecting myself, yes, protecting myself, but saying, hey, I think there's an opportunity to get long here. I think there's an opportunity to get short here if and when I do get back in that shorting mindset again at some point, which I'm not as of right now. But identifying, hey, I think there's a potential spot to get long here. Just playing a super small position size and then curing a little bit of that dopamine hit, that FOMO miss out attribute that, really, as I'm debating and talking to myself now too, I should just have to force myself to not do anything on it and look at it in order to cure that FOMO in a sense too, instead of trying to, here again now, in essence, my P&L today is a little bit negative because of the in and out exchanging of hands that I did in pre-market. Whereas if I was just playing hard and waiting for that one specific moment during market hours, I would have absolutely nailed it. It would have been an awesome P&L day to finish the day. And, I pair that alongside too of, okay, well, would I have been in that same mindset going into that one specific trade, trying to place all of my cards, waiting all of this pre-market and then going, hey, I only have one shot to get in that one trade for market hours, and that's what I'm holding myself to. Versus what I do now of, I get a little bit, my mind is at a little bit of ease knowing that, okay, I'm just chopping in and out, in and out. I'm kind of getting out, I'm firing the blanks as they're around and maybe taking little small paper cuts here and there. But when I know the time is there, then I can go absolutely hammer down and smash it with a position size that I know I need to. And I know I can absolutely way more position size too, especially going over ZIVO as well. And EDSA offered a great risk reward opportunity too. But I think that's all I had. Let's get into it. Yeah, and talking about EDSA and ZIVO, those are the big percentage movers on the day that I traded. I'm going to go over VRPX first, just to kind of get it out of the way. VRPX, former runner, looking on the daily. This is a low floater. I believe the float on this one is, if I remember correctly, super low. It's an American Biotech 2 million floater. Had a news catalyst at 9 o'clock on the dot Eastern Standard Time, which they released a cannabidiol, I don't know how you say that, but cannabis product for the management of epilepsy in adults and children. So not that I ever try and validate the authenticity of news or the actual prospectus of news, but pretty decent news for what it was. And the former runnerness of this, even though they did complete the offering, was this a week ago now? Thought they were just going to kind of rinse and repeat, do the ramp up cycle once again. It was pretty low volume at this point that this, kind of news chase type of trade I went after. It was still pretty low, but it was gaining trades, gaining volume pretty swiftly. You can see these in these candles here as well too, as we're growing and ramping. And I got super top ticked at 6.6, buying 100 shares. I thought we were just going to ramp and continue on to absolutely go crazy, come to 7, come to 8. And it was just going to be a nice little scalp for that type of trade. Really didn't know if I was going to hold this thing into pre-market, if it didn't want to spike hard. But price action just went against me. There was just no, whether or not there was actually follow through, price said, yeah, we're not going to continue to go. And no hard, another X on my rule set that I have for myself is I didn't establish a hard trade parameter risk level for me before I entered the trade. I just kind of saw it and was in, I think this thing could go a heck of a lot lower, a heck of a lot more to the upside. It's a former runner. It's got great news, super low float. Put on a decent sized position size that I thought was comparable to how my confidence in the probability of the trade, and then just got stopped out. I had to respect the price action as it was continuing to dump here. So we could have looked at this as a morning dump style of setup trade. This was a perfect representation of a morning dump. It wasn't that high or hard of a percentage move, but it's a pretty nice 10% move. Choppy, of course, into market hours, but that's what it did today. And yeah, tough. If I didn't have this little $30 loss here, it would have been, again, another profitable trade. Not taking this one in the pre-market, but yeah, I certainly thought that I had the conviction there that I thought at least we would get a new high-a-day test here, pre-market high-a-day test, especially coming to 7, that whole dollar psychological level as well too. Just an interesting one. That was a little bit after my first in and outs on EDSA. Next trigger I'll get into, of course, cutting out the afternoon session here just to begin with. This was just a failure. And this was another one that I convinced myself to, that I look at this one in my very first trades on it saying, okay, we're up at a point of, well, just we get to the basics first. They had news catalyst of positive phase 2 data from blah, 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 COVID-19 patients. Oh, that's not what I want. Get off my screen. And then, so good COVID-19 data or news, float of 7.8 million, super low floater, pretty decent volume. It was like the second most behind ZIVO, the second biggest mover on the scanner behind ZIVO with liquidity and big volume. Finding this little bit of a, perk after a failed morning dump from this initial spike where it's coming from 6, now we're at 8, which is 20%, $2 from 30%, whatever that math is. Then we eventually get to $9, where that's a 50% move here at this point from that $6 close of Friday. So I'm thinking, hey, it still has volume. We're kind of perking out here. I think this could be a nice little entry point. And sure enough, we get another short squeeze to the upside that I thought could have had a little bit more of a flirtation with that $10 hold level. Spiked a little bit more. Does have a little bit of a history of one and doningness. So thought, hey, especially too, coming into over the weekend, looking to slap a lot of these big percentage movers coming in with the perception that, hey, pre-market, I might be looking to get a little bit more aggressive with my trading and thinking that there could be a lot more room in percentage-wise to the upside on some of these because of what we've been seeing. INDP is one that comes to memory. There's another one that I'm on the tip of my tongue, but I'm forgetting now too, that we're seeing some more of these as coming out a little bit more of the summer months here. I think we could get some ramp ups in those two. All the meanwhile respecting, I wasn't really necessarily fully internalizing, hey, this is a hard red market as well too. Just be absolutely cautious and careful, but still the fact remains too, especially in ZIVO, that it doesn't 100% depend on what the market is doing in order for these things to ramp up and run to. We'll see how that a long-term effect of maybe a potential red market or a new trend change comes into effects these types of charts. But as of right now, we're just trading it day by day. So it was a good little percentage move right after my entry, and then it was just falling off, failing to continue hard. So for that 10 share trade, I just took it off before it was read the level 2 pretty well, before it kind of catapulted off, and then immediately got bought back up again. Thought we were going to get another new high day attempt, and just got totally wish-washed out on both sides, got played like a fiddle, buying pretty much precisely at that high a day, and then got slapped back down to the downside and then broke VWAP from there. So I cut again at that previous risk level entry. So just chopped around on that one. Really no emotional stake or loss on that one, especially in dollar size, because these were both 10 share entries and exit swings in that regard. And then I kind of took my eyes off it too, because thinking, okay, this is the second most volatile one, the second most voluminous one behind ZIVO. I think it does have a higher float actually than ZIVO as well too. I'm just gonna keep my eye on ZIVO and then move on to the next one. Still kept it on the chart though and watched it as I was looking at ZIVO, and we saw this huge, the biggest volume candle on the day, even past this huge run up into the close. Just that immediate reject perfectly at the $10 level. There was a few prints at 10 that just got absolutely slapped down below VWAP. Then looking for that dip and rip, and I even wrote here too, should have kind of taken the hint after that huge, insane slap that, man, there's got to be some conviction in a dip and rip if you think that after a slap like that, it's going to actually curl back to the upside. But also playing it from the short perspective too, the person who's trying to get short this thing is thinking, who's already potentially short from that big slap down or looking to slap any more perks at VWAP, thinking, hey, I've got the backing of this huge slap from the second minute of the day. There's huge volume to the upside on this. There's huge volume overhead on this one that could potentially shove it down more. So factoring in that argument as well too, the perspective of the short to say, you could see a lot more shorts coming into this one to potentially get squeezed because of that previous slap down. But anyway, regardless of it, I still, coming from the previous dip and rips I've traded in the past few weeks too, I knew that I wanted to be way more patient on these ones and allow it to just continue to go. And it almost like even at the last second, as it's still potentially making that trend upside, confirming the dip and rip trade is in, then getting the entry and just playing the quick scalp that way, looking for the quick sell into a, even if it perks and immediately pulls back down, that's enough trade for me. I know Bryce Tui has done that too. He gets some pretty weird fills on those dip and rips. I think he got on INDP as well too. The other tickers kill me that I can't remember that other ticker. So, and I did that as well too. Or I did that specifically on this first entry. I played it, of course, on the tick chart just continued to let it find its base. It was continuing to sell off, just let it run its course, getting a little bit closer to that 9:45 time frame we're looking for. Started off a little bit of a chasing entry, but it was establishing, hey, we're breaking this little regional high here. And again, that's another situation where coulda, shoulda, woulda been more patient. I think we've seen this a few times where we get that little perk fake out, then break to hit all the stops that have developed under that consolidation low that's developed, which got me perfectly. Then you get the perk right back immediately to get you back in the game. They're just looking to collect that cash and all those stops, right? So I get back in once again here as we're hovering around this little regional high on this dip bottom, risking, of course, that low a day once again. You get the attempt and you kind of fake out, and it's just so quick and immediately. It spells out so beautifully on the tick chart as well here too, and just slaps down to break that low a day. Stops me out once again. So should have taken the hint a little bit more, or should have been, I think, far, far more patient, more cautious, especially after that huge dump from the second minute of the day. That, hey, this thing, if it is going to go to the upside, and I'm factoring in that thing that I mentioned earlier too of, hey, that big slap is in, that's going to entice more shorts to come in because they think more overhead is in. If it wants to start curling back up, there's going to be far, far more room percentage-wise to the upside for you to get in, for you to sell into, than for you to try to speculate on the move before it actually happens, on what I do, on how I end up taking so many dip and rips for losers like these ones is I'm trying to predict the move before it's actually in. Because sometimes too, it does start to move so rapidly against you that, but by the time you're in, everybody else is already selling, right? And that's what I want to be doing. I want to be selling in that strength. I want to be selling when everybody else is buying. But then that comes with sometimes on these dip and rip setups specifically too, that you're kind of having to buy before the trade is actually in, and risking the fact of, hey, you might get stopped out, or you might get a little fake out here. The stop collectors, that's what I call them. Of they are trying to get you out in that sense with those specific, because they know you're looking for that dip and rip setup, and they know shorts are also looking to pile in on that failure to break out on that dip and rip too. So did end up breaking more to the downside within the morning, and I was definitely done with it for the rest of the day. I was done trading for the rest of the day too after the ZIVO as well. Had that curl back to VWAP, and then you get this curl right at the $9 level. It does spike some more and continues to chop around, not a pure continual move to the upside. These super wicky candles here, as you can see after that move. It is a little bit of the end of the lunch session as well, but just in and out. But the trend at the end of the day is up. So we'll continue to watch it, see if it wants to continue on a multi-day run, or what it wants to do. It's pretty hard close here, or pretty hard after hours, coming back down to that 9.5 level. We'll keep our eye on it. Super low floaters, we absolutely have to. That was EDSA. And it kind of became, it was funny just how much of a mirror image this thing became to ZIVO, at least in, that morning session, lunch session look of how they just almost flipped of what they're doing here. That ZIVO was a nice perk immediately to the upside, and then it's just fading into the afternoon here. Jeez, big percentage mover on the day in total. Gosh, closing at 8.3. I don't even know how to do that math. 3.6, almost 200%. Not even close to 100, maybe 150%. Just 109. Some kind of math. Big dollar mover. 825 million on the day for dollar volume. 500,000 trades. Probably would have seen some more dollar volume. Obviously, if it was holding stronger into the close. But it's whatever. Super, super low floater, 6.9 million float. News Catalyst was, I don't actually see News Catalyst too. So even another check from me too that, hey, this thing could be just absolutely super, super manipulated. Just absolutely sketch daily as well. Love it. And getting into just looking at, just for teasing me, looking at another indicator of, hey, what are the borrow fees on this type of stock, if there are any. EDSA was a little bit... EDSA was decent, I think, just for what I was randomly looking at it for. Ziva, it took forever, and then through trade zero, and then eventually said, hey, no shares available to short. So it was just, hey, I think that's absolutely going to push this thing, even if there is some overhead on it, even if there are some skelly bones in the closet for what it's got as fundamentals. I think this thing could just push for whatever it's wanting to do today. Putting in a nice base here on that 5.5 level. Of course, in no way, shape, or form holding purely, but did actually hold that little bit of a range nicely. And the beautiful trade on this one, I think, right away from the morning was this immediate dip, this short dip and then rip, not essentially like a dip consolidation 9:45 time frame, then rip the shorts that are piling in, but like a reverse morning spike that you just fall off, and then you're just buying that dip bottom and absolutely smoking all those shorts that are bagged in this one, trying to play the downside off of a huge percentage move ticker. Also the biggest dollar volume mover, I think, on the scanner as well too. So again, here I'm playing with seeing this little dip buy from the pre-market. I think I could have absolutely done without these pre-market trades today. Of course, I can say that in hindsight too, because they weren't that profitable. I think both of these X themselves out. This was like another 10 share trade. This was like a 20 share trade for what it was doing. But just both of them really not punching the gut for what I want to be doing as a trader and hitting that mark of getting the big dollars, right? At the end of the day, I want to be getting those big dollars. I want to be making that moolah. And I played this game of, I'm just protecting the FOMO. I think this move could happen from here. I'm just going to buy super small size to, say that I'm already in it, get the feel for the stock too, which I can absolutely vouch for and say, if I'm buying one share of this, that focuses me a little bit more too and makes me read a little bit more into the level to say, hey, I'm going to wait for an entry. Oh, it's spiking pretty hard. I'll buy one share. I think I can do that more in the future and say, hey, I'm going to look for the one share, or just as small of a position size as I can possibly get if it's more than $10 stock or whatever. But these two, I think they set me on a little bit of a different course than I really want to be looking for. And at the end of the day too, if I'm still holding these shares, then it just makes it even more awkward trying to get filled once I do have larger positions, because then it's like, 103 shares or just 105 share orders, whatever it is that I'm trying to get filled at. And that could hinder me a little bit, especially if I'm looking for growing into a bigger dollar position size for these specific type of trades. But this was perfectly executed to plan. I wanted to get, even more than 100 share position size in total, which I ended up with perfectly at that exact bottom. Right away in that third minute, again, trading this one on the tick volume charter as well. Just scaling in with 10 shares, 10 shares, 10 shares. If it was after this initial little short squeeze and fail, as it's pulling back, I'm saying I'm going to get, as good of an average as I can, trying to find I thought it was going to go, perk through here, closer to VWAP from there, buying as good of an average as I can, just continuing to file in until I eventually did get to that 100 share position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, I think I 20 shared or somewhere in there to eventually get me to 100. That averaged out perfectly. And what a beautiful little bottom, like I said again too, that immediately just perked a VWAP, looked to fake out some people, then just immediately ramped back up, and just beautiful percentage moves from there. Took off half at the 6.7, which was, my average was 6.1, I think. So that was a 10% from my average entry price. And holding VWAP perfectly, bounced off of there, looked to test VWAP again, but held perfectly. So I was really willing to say, I think this thing's going to $8, right? I was thinking like $10 could have happened in a bag today too, for how volatile this thing was today. I thought $8 was going to be so easy, but didn't even reach it. So I was holding, so I had that 50 shares left, limit order in at 8, putting my stop at, as it's riding closer and closer beyond, or further and further beyond that first sell. Hey, we're getting, nice action, continual new market hours, high of days. I'm adjusting my stop a little bit more and more from low day, now adjusting, okay, we'll put it at like 635, and then we'll hold it here for a little bit, and then it's pushing even more of a high of day, and I'm saying, okay, sweet, let's do like 6.5, 6.6, potentially around here. If it just pulls back randomly so hard and absolutely slaps, it's just that protection to say, you're not stopping me out, you crazy boy, or you're not getting my crazy panicking emotions. And just slowly moving along. I felt I was pretty lenient with it, giving it enough of a leash to say that I'm giving you enough of a leash to continue to go to the upside. And now your job is to go to the upside. But it did actually end up, I moved it too close to the sun, like Icarus, and it ended up pulling back and stopped me out perfectly at that bottom of VWAP at like 6.8. And it was kind of arbitrary stop level, why I set it there for whatever reason for that last 50 shares. It was a better fill than what I got for my first entry too, but there was a little bit more room to the upside. It did hit like 7.8 here. I don't know where I would have sold, if I would have actually sold, or if I would have gotten stopped out still anyway in this huge slam of a red candle under VWAP as well too. Still looking for that $8 claim potentially in the afternoon. but just interesting one. And maybe you contributed to a reg market that it didn't have any more in the bag for potential upside for what a low floor it was, or potentially just had crazy amount of overhead that kept this thing down. But the fact was that no shares available to short, especially through Trade Zero, which does a pretty good job of finding shares to short, in my opinion, which is a good indication. And it's a super low floater, pretty much a first day mover of its crazy, crappy history of a run, pump and dump manipulation potentially on those news catalysts that I see here, at least. So just playing all those factors, great trade, great percentage move on that one. And this really should have been my day. Was this one of, hey, you know what? Yeah, EDSA looks great, looks awesome. Dip and rip potentially could have happened, but it didn't happen. I always want to say in hindsight, hey, what should I have done perfectly on this day to cap the day off of what I like to trade with liquidity, what intrigues me as a trader to fit my personality. And this type of trade definitely should have been it. And yeah, I would not have nailed it perfectly, just like how I averaged into the exit. And I tried to average out a little bit more, or tried to average in on the entry. Should have averaged in maybe a little bit more finer with more shares sprinkled out in between as we're reclaiming here. But that's just more data for the books, and it's more experience. And I cannot be more grateful for opportunities like this too. And just coming into the market today, especially with such a great mentality and looking to hammer these big percentage movers that I think are going to do more and more work coming in the next few weeks, next few months here as we get into winter. That was an absolutely awesome one on that one. Those were my 3 trade charts. Now we can get into CRVS, which of course was that mover from last week on Friday. Big percentage mover, just big slow grind trend to the upside. Nice moves in the after hours. Pretty weak and reddish pre-market here. And of course I wasn't really around or watching the afternoon stocks at all, but you got a perfect curl to VWAP consolidation right at 5.4, which was around that close as of yesterday, this little consolidation range area-ish. And then a beautiful, perfect beyond 10% green move directly from there. So whether shorts bagged, whether more buyers coming in to force that move to the upside. Great to see on that one. Total dollar volume, 425 million on 255,000 trades. Excuse me, good move on that one as well. And apparently it was short sale restricted, according to my Thinkorswim, which is hard for me to believe. From 5.3, but we'll see. CEI as well. Again, here we are talking about this ticker that, gosh, this really just doesn't deserve my attention anymore for how slow it moves. I kept this one on the corner of my chart on my screen right away in the morning and saw this huge red candle. And I'm going, let's go. This is the move that I talked about last week of, for how slow this grind to the upside was. Imagine if it was just the absolute fastest and craziest rug pull that we've ever seen ever and just completely wipes out any more longs that are trying to dip by this thing. I thought that's what it was going to do. But then I think I've done this a few times, paper trading, and must have just been a few stops getting randomly hit somehow, that a broker or a circuit got flipped somehow, mistake, trending all the way down on 136, but then getting bought up pretty quickly after that too, which short sale restricted it for getting a hit there, which might have played a factor into it as well too, but really nothing this day too. On the daily, it looks pretty tough because of how it hit there, but it's not that far off of what it actually did if we take out that candle, but could be on the backside here too. I'm in no way, shape, or form shorting this thing, but just it's becoming such a slow mover, and I still have to talk about it because it's been trending up for so long, and of course it still has decent liquidity in it. But that was an interesting one to see right away in the morning. OTC market, ILUS and TGGI. Huddy going absolutely hard on this one. ILUS I focused on more because it had way more dollar volume than TGGI. Didn't know if it really had more percentage moves. I think they had the equal percentage of opportunity P&L wise. Obviously, if I wasn't trading huge position size, but spiked right away again in this multi-day continuation we're in on ILUS, just going absolutely bonkers. Yeah, I doubt too. I've just been so focused on these small cappers too. I doubt if I would have tried to play this right away too. You get a 10% move pretty much right away from the open. A little bit of a star step here. Holds decently, fakes out under VWAP, then you get another high day attempt here that just W's to even more. Just big old upside in the day. Slow grind, hard fade, sell off, little panic dip by attempt, and then again, another high day attempt here, all the way up just right under 42. We'll see if it wants to put in a panic dip buy here sometime soon. We're collecting a nice amount of volume. It showed even today too that it's a little clean. It does have the tendency, if we start to panic hard, that it could potentially produce a nice, just clean, pure panic dip buy, especially on, it potentially could fake out. Obviously, as you see in these two volume candles here as well, that it did have this little fake out here, stutter step on those biggest volume candles, and then eventually did put in the nice volume. So potentially keeping that on note if it does panic dip buy as a watcher for an OTC. But great move today on ILUS, TGGI again too. I think I mentioned Huddy's absolutely nailing these ones. This was more of a breakout style one, this cup and handle from one. A little bit of a dip from the open, but could have played it. Risky to try and buy anything here when the trade is so far off from actually going green, but then actually buying a breakout too. You're pretty nicely set from that point, from that cent level. As it's trending up, then you get your 10% move there, sitting nice and still plenty more room. Trading it all the way to 125. And then again, just kind of faking these people out. And hard sell off here under view up, and then reclaims. And again, coming to touch 1.3, which Huddy is even holding all the way to 1.3. And he took off a lot of his position. So surprising to see that he certainly wasn't faked out. Maybe he's got more experience, more hard standingness than I do, just even looking at him. Of course, I'm not trading these. But certainly keeping my eyes on them. If they start to produce more and more too, I definitely will get back into these like I used to in the hot 2020 type of market. ATR was the last one that I just wanted to quickly mention too. Just a nice move to the upside. Daily, again, we're in this, just pullback kind of short squeeze move once again too of all the longer term shorts. That it happened a little bit last Friday on that trading day in the afternoon session. Didn't know if it was really going to happen today too, but you got this little bit of a curl and pretty decent percentage move to the upside. Again, just kind of choppy on this small capper, but just wanted to point out that move today too, that it certainly was with the volume. Of course, it kind of needed this volume today too, comparing it on the daily as well. You needed more of that volume to come in order to push that type of price action, in my opinion. But it was there today, and that percentage move did come for ATAR. And that is all of the tickers I wanted to mention. Watch list going into tomorrow. Again, those OTC boys for Platonic dip buys, possibly Platonic dip buys, just friendly dip buys we're looking for. CYDY, another OTC mover, just keep my eye on. Not the most intriguing for me. Of course, this Gratani ticker, it's in this multi-day breakout. Could get a continuation, could just get a choppy nothingness day tomorrow. It's these charts just kind of just the dojis and the trending here for a while is just it's hard for my patience, I think, just for my personality wise as a trader too, but it could come back. I'm just keeping my eye on it, keeping my options open. Options open. That is all I had. I thank you guys for watching. 33-minute video coming in decently for all the work that I wanted to get in on the day. We'll see where this market takes us. If we're going to start a new trend here, actually come to reality of what type of economy we're living in, or if we stay in Candyland, Crazyland with Senor Joseph Bidan, we will certainly see what happens. I thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.